somewhat back to normal, but you know, we're not back to normal. What is up, Fin fans? Day 2 of training camp. Day 2 in pads. Unfortunately, if you tell by the title, we got a little bit of bad news. But, you know, we'll talk about that when we get to it. So, essentially, Brian Flores, Devante Parker, Roberts, Rowe, and Gesicki met with the media. I got some tidbits from Flores, Parker, and Eric Rowe. Some things I thought were very interesting. Then I got some updates to what's happening on the field. Again, unfortunately, one of our guys got injured. I will talk about that after I talk about the press conferences. And then I'll get to one of you guys' comments of the day. But before we jump into that, I have to thank some of you guys. I got some new Patreons. I got 3 new Patreons, $4 Patreons. Kenneth Charles, Tyson, Daniel Rodriguez, and Justin Gorf, new $4 Patreons. Thank you guys so much. Also, Bob Cooper went from a $4 Patreon to an $8 Patreon. So I greatly appreciate that. And before we jump into the press conferences, New England Patriots already came out and said that there's going to be no attendance at Foxborough on September 13th when the Miami Dolphins go up there week 1 to beat the New England Patriots. You heard it right. We're going to beat the New England Patriots. So let's jump into the press conferences. Let's hear what Flores had to say and some of the other guys. So he talks about Devante Parker off the jump. He says, Parker had a solid year last year. What I liked about him over the course of this offseason virtual meetings, he was working extremely hard from a conditioning standpoint, catching balls, running routes, hoping to see improvement in all of those areas, which is huge. You know, we all know that Devante Parker had a huge thing with conditioning, could not stay healthy, all of that stuff. So the fact that he is taking this seriously and putting all his work into it, I don't know why I couldn't get that out. It's very, very, very big. And then he says, I'm anxious to see who rises at the top at all positions. Again, he talks about it in a little bit, but he has a huge camp battle going on with everybody. So this is going to be very, very interesting. He says, you know, when it comes to which intriguing camp, battles going on that you're interested in, he says, we try to create a situation where there was competition everywhere on the roster. No one is safe on this team. He talks about how Josh Boyer, it was his idea to move Eric Rowe to safety. He said at first there were some bumps for Rowe, but you can see there was some growth. So it wasn't Flores. It wasn't, him taking Eric Rowe, putting him at safety. It was actually the secondaries coach, Josh Boyer, last year, who is now the defensive coordinator. Maybe that's the reason he became the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. He talks about conditioning. He says, always room for improvement, but most of these guys came in fairly good condition. So hopefully they did come into fairly good condition because, so I got a long season ahead. He talks about opposite Byron Jones in the camp battle. If you notice, all of a sudden it's starting to get brighter in here. It's because the sun's going down in my town, and I have 2 windows right here. Let's enjoy this, won't we? He says there's a lot of competition at the position. We're focused on the guys who are here. He says, obviously, X is one of our top players. We are hoping to get him back as soon as possible. I'm pretty sure a lot of us Miami Dolphin fans are hoping to get him back as soon as possible. But he's got to make the field. There's a little bit of a tidbit that I got going on after I talk about press conferences. But Xavier Howard, again, his biggest knock, it was kind of like Devante Parker's, you need to stay healthy and you need to get on the field. He talks about Malcolm Perry, 7th round pick, that Swiss Army knife of the offense. He says he's got the quickness, he's got the hands, he's got the instinctive play, he's got a good feel for the game. The wide receiver and running back positions are all different. We've asked him to do a few things. Again, we aren't getting live tweets, so we don't know what they're doing, but he is being asked to do a few things, so it's going to be super, super interesting to see how that all pans out. And then he says they have to be prepared as if right now X isn't available for week 1. So essentially right now what they're doing is they're going through practice, they're having people compete opposite Byron Jones to be prepared as if he's not ready to go week 1. Please, Xavier Howard, come off that pup list and show everyone how good you are when you're on the field, and then stay on the field. Please. Pretty please. Then we have Devante Parker. Devante Parker comes on. He says, I still have a lot of work to do. I have a ways to go. Again, the humility and him taking it seriously and taking this craft seriously is why he had 1,000 yards last year and he'll have another 1,000 this year. He talks about Changeli's offense. He says it's hard for the defense to just stick on you in one spot. I think that can be a big advantage for us. It's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement on Changeli's offense, so it's going to be very, very interesting. He says, they obviously have to ask him about Tua, and there you go. The sun starts going down a little bit, get a little bit of shift in color. It is what it is at this point. He says Tua has a pretty good spin on the ball. He can't wait to see how he progresses over the years. Then he says the Dolphins have a plenty of good starters in Fitz. He also notices that other players kind of give that nod and give that Fitz is the starter. But I think being that we are going into day 2 of them actually doing 11-on-11s in pads, to come to the assumption that Fitz is the starter is probably obvious, because he's probably taking the starting reps where you have Tua taking, different reps, and same thing with Rosen. So to assume right now Fitz is the starter is probably okay. It's a given. Still a lot of camp left to go, and there's still a lot of things left to go. Last thing I want to talk about what Parker says. He talks about Preston Williams. He says we feed off of each other. When I see him come down with the ball, I'm like, I got to get myself one of those. And that is the dynamic between him and Preston Williams that is going to excel this wide receiver core. You have to have that competition. You have to have one guy wanting to be better than the other. It pushes you. It pushes you to become better. And then the last guy that I want to talk about right now, just because I find it interesting, is Eric Rowe. He talks a little bit about going from corner to safety. He talks about what does he need to improve on. He talks about man-to-man technique, press technique. For me, I know I need to work on the run game and run fits at safety. It's a lot more prevalent than corner, which is 100% true. Yes, at corner, you need to get off of your blocks from your wide receivers and hopefully help on the outside. But at safety, especially if you're down in the box and you have to make sure you hit the right gap, it's very, very important. He says after the bye, there's a lot of injuries at safety. Once he started to cover tight ends and once he started communicating with the defense in the backfield, which is huge because that is essentially you're on an island out there. They made him the starter permanently. And then he talks about that they're emphasizing on getting the ball, and they kind of have a points chart for guys who get interceptions and all that stuff, because the Miami Dolphins actually, surprisingly, they were ranked 12th last year in interceptions with 13 interceptions overall. Now that we got the press conferences out of the way, now we have to talk about the on-the-play stuff, on-the-field stuff. And unfortunately, if you can tell by the title, Vince Biegel goes down with an injury. He was carted off the field, and unfortunately, they find out that it is a Achilles injury. Hopefully, they hope to have him back by the end of the season, but we don't know, and it's really sad to hear of Vince, dealing with this injury, because first, he's an awesome guy. Like I said, came on the channel, very awesome guy, but not only that, very great player, very great Miami Dolphin player. I think he was tied for a team in tackles for loss, led the team in quarterback hits. Huge addition for this team. And it's really sucky to hear what happened. The other thing, too, is all the players were there that were available, Xavier Howard being the only one not, and Preston Williams wasn't there. It's the other thing that I found suspicious. Shaq Lawson left, then he came back, and then he rode the bike for a little bit, and then he got back on the field. So Shaq Lawson's fine. Nothing to worry there. Tua had some more involved on 11-on-11s. He went 7 for 7, and then him and Dieter, who was playing center at the time, had 2 botched snaps. So they are putting Dieter at center or having him work on that stuff. And then Ford and Kazicki and the offensive line were the last ones to get off the field. Ford and Kazicki working on the jug machine, catching some of the balls, and the offensive linemen getting together, trying to do their thing like a chicken wing. And then Bobby McCain catches an interception from Fitz. These are some of the highlights from today. Kyle Van Noy pops up a ball, which helps get intercepted. Devante Parker completely mosses Byron Jones, but then Byron Jones comes back on the very next play, causes an incompletion. So we all know how Byron Jones does in that aspect. And Noah Igbenogany actually doing his thing and doing really well. 2 pass breakups and really showing why the Miami Dolphins took him 30th overall. But essentially, that's the video. That's what happened today on day 2 of training camp. Give you guys some actual edited footage. Like I said, I'm working on this. It's going to be really nice and sexy probably for the next video. Also, I'm dealing with the sun going up and down. So if you notice color changes happen throughout, I still have to bring in my studio lights and all that stuff. It's going to get real nice in here, soundproofing it. It's going to be real nice and sexy. But be sure to comment below. I'm very interested in what you guys have to say about Flores, Rowe, and what Parker had to say. I'm interested in how you guys feel about Vince going down. And I'm interested in what you guys think about some of the on-the-field stuff I said. But let's get to you guys' comment of the day. This comment comes from Russell, and Russell says, comment of the day, who do you think will have to run to the TNT wall the most before they learn? Now, I understand it's by a joke, but that's the one thing that you'll notice. You don't really, last season, the TNT wall was a big thing. This season, you don't really hear the TNT wall. I haven't heard about the TNT wall, anyone run into it or anything, or if it's even a thing anymore. That's why I picked that comment, because what, is the TNT wall still there? Is it still a thing? And I bet you a lot of people are running, because off season, very short, not much to do. I bet you a lot of people are running to that TNT wall. But Russell, thank you for the comment. And probably Blaj. Blaj seemed to be struggling yesterday, but I don't know. I hope the guy can bounce back. But other than that, that's the video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram like usual. Tweet out all my stuff. Tweet out all the videos, all that stuff on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So be sure to check that out. Fan to Fan Network, if you guys haven't checked it out yet. The Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/Fan to Fan Network. Sunday was the premiere, and they're doing Monday through Friday night roundtables. So be sure to go over, check that out. And the website. Also check out DolphinsTalk.com. Great Dolphin content over there. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Should be tomorrow if there is camp tomorrow. If not, as soon as news breaks, I'll get you a video, and I have a ton of videos planned. So if you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and hit the thumbs up. But like usual, I'll see you in the next one. Stay classy. Fins up.